You know, this is cool and all, but I can't imagine anyone who really needs 4K for a webcam. But here we are. What's going on, guys? Tony Hannity's here with Lazy Tech TV, and yes, we have merch. We actually have merch, so go ahead and check out the link in the description down below if you want your limited edition merch. We're going to remove it from the store in about a month, but let's go ahead and move on to the topic at hand, webcams. Now, what I'm using right now is your standard Logitech C920. It's the one that's been around for oh so long, and there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But if you wanted to up your game, so to speak, and you wanted to improve the quality of the video without having to go with a mirrorless camera, you know, like a Sony Alpha or a Panasonic G series or something to that effect, the next best thing that you might see would be a 4K webcam, and that is what this is. This is the J5 JVCU435, and that name does not roll off the tongue. It took me a second to remember what it was, but that's what this image is right here. And right out of the gate, it's much more vibrant. I don't really like this angle, if I'm being honest, but that's neither here nor there. It's much more vibrant than the C920, and there's a few other benefits between the two and why I would recommend it and why I wouldn't recommend it. But let's talk about the positives with this guy. First and foremost, the USB cable is long. It's a nice long, I believe it's like 10 feet. It's being run all the way behind my computer, down past my tower actually, and onto a bunch of I'm embarrassed to say, but onto a box. Look, I don't have a lot of room, and I did this whole thing about, you know, cable management, and now it's gone out the window, so sue me. But the other nice thing about the cable is not only does it work with USB Type A standards, but it also has a USB Type C adapter. So if you want to plug it into a USB Type C, like on a Mac or a Chromebook, or obviously some of the new Windows laptops, you can do that. Other standards and protocols that it is compatible with are UVC and UAC, so you'll be good to go in pretty much any kind of software and any kind of format that you're looking for. It does record with an image sensor of 2.8 CMOS that is 8 megapixel capture and has an f-stop of 1.6. Low light is pretty freaking amazing. For example, hey Google, turn off all the lights. See what I'm talking about? And then comparing that to the Logitech, it's a little, you know, a little darker, but this still fairly vibrant. And while I've complained before with J5Create's webcams not having software, I feel like they listened to me. I'm gonna say it was my doing. After I complained, I found out that they do have software pretty much for all their webcams, including this one. So if I wanted to do something like zooming in or you know, tilting and panning, you can do all that in the software. Or if you can hear the clicks, this actually has a remote control. So if you're in a meeting room and you want to, you know, focus on one person in that meeting room and put them on blast, I mean on the spot, you know, podium, whatever, you can do that without having to finagle it, you know, or resize it in, you know, in Teams or in OBS or anything like that. You can do it all through this guy. It doesn't come with the battery. Why? I don't know, but you have to go buy your own battery. J5Create did send this to me with the battery, so thank you, J5Create. But for consumers out there, go and buy your own batteries. But one of the last nice things about this camera is that it does have a physical privacy control. So you can use the virtual privacy control, which, you know, just shuts off the screen. But if you want to use the physical privacy control, it's literally on the webcam itself. So you just slide it over the lens and then you know, slide it back when you're ready. I do not subscribe to the necessity. That's not a word. I don't subscribe to the necessity of you needing to protect yourself at all times when you're not using the webcam, but it is a good benefit to have if you ever need it. So that's all well and good. And it, you know, from a side-by-side point of view, it looks so much better. It looks like the clear winner of why you should go this direction over some of the other ones. What's a downside with it? Well, it's big. It's a big honky one. So if you're putting it on top of your laptop, you know, it's not necessarily too heavy, but it's just a big, wide physical webcam compared to some of the other ones that we might be a lot more familiar with. Another issue that I had, minus the non-inclusion of the battery, is that if you have another J5Create camera, let's say the 360 HD camera, plugged into certain pieces of capture software like OBS, I don't know if it's a J5Create thing or an OBS thing, but OBS for me does not allow me to run two J5Create webcams in the same instance, and not even on the same scene. They just, if they're both active, one of them is going to shut off. So for example, I do have that J5Create 360 webcam that I did a review. You can go ahead and check that out over there if you'd like, but I couldn't change my scene to it right now because OBS doesn't allow two J5Create cameras to be active. So again, I don't know if that's a J5Create thing or an OBS thing or a Tony thing. I know it's not a Tony thing, and I realize majority of you are not going to have too many webcams, but I will say this, especially for you content creators, you streamers out there, if you're trying to go on the cheap and you're trying to get multiple webcams and J5Create comes up and you're like, oh, I'll buy 3 of those and place those around my room, and then I'll just be able to use those as different, you know, cameras depending on the scene that I want to use. You can't, and that sucks. But it does bring me back to the whole thing of the 4K versus 1080p. So first off, 4K and 1080p on the J5Create can only have an FPS of 30. And with something like the Logitech C920, you can only have an FPS of 30. You can't really do 60. You don't necessarily need 60. But as you know, if you want better frame rate, and with that, the, you know, things like gameplay, that's where you'll see a much better clarity of image and less, you know, unnecessary motion blur. But for 4K camera, for you streamers out there, telling you right now, you absolutely do not need it. You don't. Now, if you're leaning toward the benefit of the better saturation, the better low light, you know, if you don't have all the lights in front of you, if you like the physical privacy protector, if you like those things, then fine. It's a little pricey for all of that. It's $150 to take advantage of that, but fine. But for 4K resolution, you absolutely do not need that at all. So yeah, if I had to choose between the two, yes, the image quality definitely is much better on the J5Create 4K. But for the cost and with some of the software image processing that you can do on the C920 or even the lower end J5Create ones that we've taken a look at on this channel, I really don't think that you need this guy at all. In a meeting room, in a medical facility maybe, where you need to be able to see the nitty-gritty and you can actually project this onto a 4K screen and take advantage of it in 4K, then fine, absolutely. But for streaming or for doing YouTube videos, not really. You really don't. And if you're gonna go that direction, you don't want to skimp, you might as well go with the mirrorless. And I have some recommendations. You can take a look at those as well too. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please leave that in the comment section down below. Links, as always, can be found in the description below. As I said before, I do stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/LazyTechTony. We also have a Facebook, Twitter page, and we have a charity stream coming up at the end of March 2021. So hope you guys can stick around for that. All right, you guys take care. Bye.